After 3 years of hard work, resilience, and faith, Cordelia is finally ready for cinema audiences. Cordelia is not just about the release of a film. It is a celebration of a journey that began with a powerful story on the pages and comes alive on nationwide cinema distribution by Film 1 from July 18, 2025. I love literature. I've read all our authors. I've been influenced by all the superior arts. But I've done a lot of adaptations. Koshegbe, Oleku, Mami, Thunderbolt. They are books. That's me, right? They are books. And Cordelia is adapted from Femi Oshofison's work. Remember that we have done Mami, written by Femi Oshofison. As a matter of fact, when I approached Professor Femi Oshofison, I had Cordelia in my hands. It was like not a complete novel, it's like a novella or something. You could not believe that such a powerful story can come out, things can come out from such a small book.
My name is Kilarigbo, and there are some things as an actor, I think, for me, there are a couple of things that I want to do before I die. One is working with TK. Yes. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. And working with him was, I didn't even believe, like she said, till I got to set, I was working with TK. And
I was like, are you sure?
Yeah, are you sure? Yeah. And then I'm like, where's TK? Where's TK? Yeah. Oh, okay, it's TK. Okay, wow. TK, like, TK. Like,
oh, come on.
I'm sure that's TK. Like, you know, the name Tunde Kelani is amazing, man. It's amazing all through the years, the acting industry, the performance industry. You can't go like, you know, you can't go so far without hearing TK. So it was an awesome time working with him.
Working with TK was a big deal for me. Me and my manager were jumping on the phone, we were shouting, we were dancing. I was like, TK called you? From where? Me? But anyway, I got on the set and I learned a lot of things. I made new friends, but I learned a lot of things. And one of the things that I took home, that you said, you dissed me on set, and I was like, yay, I messed up. So we had different things on set, and there was a scene where they had props on set. And normally, you know how we are in Nollywood, there's food, let me tell you, there's something, you're eating it, and you're supposed to shoot it. So I was eating, and TK came and said, you don't eat props. You don't eat props. I was so ashamed of myself, I was like, I'm taking this home. And since then, I have never done it.
You give in, you give up. You go out, you go in. Or you go in, what happens? So that question just sets it all up, that Cordelia affects all of us individually.
Professor, can you hear me?
Kilarigbo TV, ìkànnì amúlùdún àkọ́kọ́ tó ń gbé àṣà àti ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ Yorùbá lárugẹ.
I'm Cordelia Peters. Do you believe in love?
What is going on between you two?
There's nothing between us.
There's fire on the mountain.
What is it?
Come.
My name is Tunde Kelani, but everybody calls me TK. Distinguished guests, fellow filmmakers, artists, and friends. On behalf of our executive producers, Mr. Tayo Ladimiji and Kilarigbo, and on behalf of the entire cast and the crew representing the cast and creative team behind Cordelia, I warmly welcome you to this very special occasion. After 3 years of hard work, resilience, and faith, Cordelia is finally ready for cinema audiences. Cordelia is not just about the release of a film. It is the celebration of a journey that began with a powerful story on the pages and comes alive on nationwide cinema distribution by Film 1 from July 18, 2025. Thank you. At the heart of Cordelia is a literary work by one of our greatest writers, Professor Femi Oshofisan. His novel provided the foundation, a layered, compelling narrative that we were honored to adapt for cinema. This is a reminder of the critical bond between African literature and the African film. Our written stories, alongside oral tradition, folklore, and lived experiences, are part of our intangible heritage. When we adapt them to film, we are not just entertaining, we are preserving, interpreting, and passing on our culture. This is what makes our cinema deeply authentic and what sets African storytelling apart. Cordelia is a film about silence, about the unspoken damage of power and the quiet suffering of those who live in the shadows of history. It is a political and historical story, yes, but it's also deeply personal. It holds a mirror to the fractures in our society and the fragility within the family when truth is suppressed. Because when power changes hands by force, when there's a military coup or a natural disaster caused by years of neglect, it is not the powerful who suffer first. It is the innocent, ordinary families that are torn apart. Children are displaced, parents are silenced or disappear. The people caught in the crossfire are those simply trying to live, to raise their families and to survive. Cordelia gives voice to those quiet victims, the ones history books often forget. And one of the most moving aspects of this film, what binds it emotionally, is the music. The original score was composed by the talented Michael Ogunlade, but it reached new creative heights through a unique collaboration, the music department of the University of Delaware in the US, under the leadership of Professor Anderson, arranged, orchestrated, and scored, who arranged and scored the film in a project that is titled Cultural Fusion. This collaboration between continents, between cultures, between traditions and techniques represents exactly what Cordelia stands for. It's a creative dialogue, a meeting point between African stories and global craftsmanship. And it shows what is possible when we open our doors to collaboration while staying true to our roots. To our extraordinary cast here represented and our crew, thank you for your passion and professionalism. To the composers, musicians, and partners behind the sound of Cordelia, thank you for giving this film its soul. And to our audience, the Nigerian audience, who have stood with African filmmakers through decades of evolution, you are the true backbone of this industry. Through those era of Nollywood, VHS, VCD, cinema and streaming, you have stayed loyal. You believed in our stories when others didn't, and it is for you that we continue to create. So in conclusion, let us recognize and thank the team that made today possible. City People magazine, led by our brother, the visionary editor, Mr. Sheye Kennedy, and the assistant editor, Mr. Sunday Adiku, and their entire hardworking team. I thank you for organizing this press conference and for your continued commitment to celebrating the Nigerian creativity and culture. As for me, Cordelia is not the end, but a new beginning, marking the start of a fresh chapter filled with entertaining, thought-provoking, and culturally grounded films that will continue to complement my decades-long journey in African cinema. Ire ni o, ẹ ṣé púpọ̀.
Thank you very much, sir. Beyond the speech, which is superb, I must say. Now, very quickly, sir, I'm interested in getting to know this particular movie coming out, Cordelia. You've been doing movies for decades now. I want to ask that what exact number would we call this particular one coming out? Can you put a number to it for us to know that, okay, this is the particular number of movies you've done?
At first, I was trained in television, and there was a time when I actively did newsreel. I was in the NTA, and I was carrying, if I was still in service, I would be one of the gentlemen standing there. And there was a time for many years, in contract underground, I was the BBC World Service cameraman in Nigeria, and I passed all that stage of my life. And it was at a point when I said, no, wait, I'm going to stop this and face the narratives. We had, through technologies, been essentially cinematographer in one part of the Nigerian cinema. And then when the technology changed, it was the time for me I was independent and we started making film productions. So I don't know where to start the count. But if we started from when the technology changed and we started to use video, we had no choice because of Nigerian economy had collapsed completely. And I decided to appropriate the new technology and produce to tell the stories. So we will start the count from Toluwanile, and then Oshegbe, and then Oleku, and then Thunderbolt, Shawole, Agogo, and Campus Queen, and The Narrow Path, finally Ayinla, finally Dazzling Mirage, Mahami, and then we're here. So without bothering to count, I just say maybe 15 or so. Although some of my associates, especially my lawyer, Jide Bello, insists that I have done 28. Wow. You know, so let's take his figure and say that I've made roughly about 28 films.
Fantastic, sir. You've just given us a figure to hit. And most of those, in fact, the entire movies you mentioned are top-notch movies, which remain evergreen. When you even get to have access to those movies, it's just as if they are new again. So this particular one coming out, which is Cordelia, I want to ask that what actually inspires you to come up with this?
Well, as you know, my works can be classified. Basically, I work in adaptation because I love literature. I've read all our authors. I've been influenced by all the superior arts. But I've done a lot of adaptations. Oshegbe, Oleku, Mahami, Thunderbolt. They are books. Dazzling Mirage, they are books. And Cordelia is adapted from Femi Osofison's work. Remember that we had done Mahami, written by Femi Osofison. As a matter of fact, when I approached Professor Femi Osofison, I had Cordelia in my hands. It was like not a complete novel, it's like a novella or something. You could not believe that such a powerful story can come out, things can come out from such a small book. And when I got to him, I told him, I sat down and told him that I had come to discuss Cordelia. And then he laughed and said, I don't know, maybe if you saw Mahami, I don't know what you think about it. So he went inside and brought Mami, and I read the few pages and said, this is the one I'm going to do first. You know, and at that time, remember in 2010, they had brought the World Cup first time to the African soil, and I wanted to connect his story to the World Cup. So I said, no, this is what I'll do first. And for about 7 or 8 years, I kept Cordelia in a cabinet, waiting for the opportunity. And then one day, I got visitors. It was President James Anderson from he's the professor of music and is the head of orchestral activities from University of Delaware. And it came in sort of a delegation, and what they wanted to be involved in a project that was called Cultural Fusion. Originally, they wanted me to give them one of my old films, which they would take the soundtrack down, and then we would score a music. We compose a music in Nigeria, and when they get back with audience and everything, they will screen the film without the music, and the live orchestra of about 75 people will play to it. Once he finished talking, I said, no, I'm not going to give you any of my old films. We are going to make a new one. So I went inside and brought Cordelia and said, this is what we are going to make. So many things have inspired Cordelia. The music is special. It was composed by Michael Ogunlade, and then it was arranged, scored, and performed at the University of Delaware in the US. And as you can see, it looks like a small story, but it connects all of us. And I'm lucky to have had such a fantastic cast behind it. If you see the film, you will see what magic these stars have brought to this film.
Sir, coming from that line, sir, I wonder, I don't know if anybody within us would also be thinking such, that with the caliber of the cast you have, Grant, or that you used in the movie, how is it like putting all these people together to help you achieve the movie?
I can't claim credit for putting them together, because sometimes when you are creative, God surrounds you with what you know. Like my brother,
My story.
William, we had worked together on campus film. I think he had a scene or two at the moment, but I never forgot him. You know, so when the time came, professor struggling with the marriage in the university and so on. So I thought, well, perhaps 1 or 2 people, and then 3 days before we started, he called me. He just wanted to say hi, hello. And I said, what are you doing for the next 1 month? And then that's how William came in. And of course, my sister here, we had never worked together, or even perhaps never met. But everybody kept suggesting, you know, get Yvonne. And so she's here. And then this tailor-made, tailor-made for Major, for Major Kawali. So, you know, we found ourselves, or the film found us.
So everybody loves to work with TK, really. But I still want to ask you that, what actually informs your choices of cast you use in your movies? Starting from the time of Shawo, Ede and the likes, I can definitely say that I was small while those movies came out, but I got to know that those that were cast in that movie, they become top movie, this thing we have around now. So what actually informs your decision of
I think my style of working is very simple, because I make films that have a bit of myself and my environment in it. And I'm a keen observer of the society. So I can easily match people to these roles. And I cast people who are processed to the character before I decide that's the person that's going to play. You know, so I say I go along, I look at everybody, and you know, so I store it away. And when the time comes, I will call it and say, get somebody like that. Sometimes it works like that for me, because, but sometimes there are surprises, things that I didn't think about or never. But I have learned as I live my life to pay attention to everything happening around me. sometimes when I'm about to start a project, I'm always careful about people who just visit me out of the blue. You know, because there has to be a reason. I don't believe meeting is anyway, not a coincidence. I feel something deeper when I meet people. Look at Bukola Oyemi that play Yoruba. I've tried, you know, some of the cast I wanted in mind, but something funny was happening. Anybody I had in mind was either due for delivery of a new baby, or just too pregnant to move. But I said that, so I was wondering what the hell is happening. And one day, Bukola showed up, slim girl, dark, and she's serving. She's in youth service from Kwara University, or University of Ilorin, precisely. And then I said, okay, all right, come again, and so on. Then she was down for 2 minutes and said, call her back, call the girl back. And that's how she played me. You know, so I'm always very receptive. You know, because one thing very great about Nigeria, our country, is what God has given us. We have everything, any location you can dream of, from Sahara to the Atlantic Ocean, all the hills, river, swamps, everything, you have everything. But more importantly, we have the people. Largely, Nigerians are so creative that you can almost virtually pick anybody on the road and be ready to not to talk about not talented, tested, trained, educated, you know, talents like I work with all the time.
All right, thank you, sir.
Without them, I mean, there would be no film.
All right, thank you, sir. Can we have other media outlets to ask these questions now? But before that, I would like to direct my first questions to the male actor, the lead actor, sir. How was it like working with TK? And then what was your experience at the locations?
Okay, so I will not start with Cordelia. We should back to the first time I ever worked with him. I was in University of Lagos studying English, and they came to do audition, so I walked in. I was quite not, I was not in his face, but they just said, oh, you play this character. Then we had a dead by me around them. So
can you imagine? Mathematical. Even acted in the film.
Yes. So one thing I've always loved to do is to do whatever I've been given to do and do it with everything within me. And I'm more of a collaborative actor and a thinking actor on the spot. So I needed to make a mark that would drag me in his purview. Then after we finished the film, campus screen, I think about a month or so later, I got a call from on my phone, and it was TK calling me. And he said, can you come to my office at Oshodi? We were very quiet, but when I watched the film again, I saw you there, like, who is this guy? And he said, William, I want to do another film, and I want you to play the lead, but I don't want you to do any other thing. And I'm a very loyal person when it comes to things like that. For a period of time, I didn't do anything, but I kept visiting him. And if you know TK for one, he's very observant of his environment. TK can decide to leave his office and go to Oshodi and just sit there in the corner and be catching snippet shots of the environment. And I was sitting there and he just said, hey, pause, hold up. I said, don't move. And he brought out his camera and snapped me and said, there's this inspector guy I'm working on and I want you to. I said, okay. And that was it. Then, fast forward to Cordelia. I was in church. I just finished from church that day and I went home. I was writing, then someone just said, call TK and greet him. You've not said hello to him in a long while. So I called him and the next thing I heard was, hey, William, are you in the country? What are you doing? Are you free for the next 1 month? I said, yes. Even if I'm not free, I'm free for you, TK. And that was it. And he said, do me a 60 seconds monologue. It's not for me, it's for the other people who are watching. I know what you can do, but I just need other people to. And that was it, and I came on board, only to find out I'm working with this awesome, delectable queen, Yvonne Jegede. This tout here I've worked with a long time. I've worked with him several times.
They're married.
And when I saw her there, I was quite excited because I've seen her, and from that project we became very good friends, and started visiting her house, saying hello to the family and all that. And she's a wonderful actor.
Yvonne, you tell
And working with TK.
tell the press what kind of marriage you
We'll come back to that. So working with TK is fun. He gives you the latitude to express yourself, and you see him. He hardly gets in your way. The only way he gets in your way is the camera. What he sees, you are not saying it. Just be yourself and all that. And having to have awesome actors to play with, we made the job a lot easier for him. It wasn't anything beyond what the capacity we've got to exercise what we've practiced for a long time and having the field to play with. And without much supervision, that's the kind of director TK is. He trusts you to deliver, and if I have that kind of trust, I don't turn it down. I respect it and deliver what I'm asked to deliver.
All right, thank you. Blog.
My question is to the TK. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for this opportunity. I would like to ask, over the years we've seen lots of your works, like you said, while we were growing up. So I would ask, after such a long wait, for a while we've not seen some of your works, how did you then say, okay, this is the time to come out with Cordelia? I think the Nigerian audience, even what we have in the cinema, Netflix, and the new tech. So how did you figure out that, okay, this is the actual time to bring out Cordelia for your fans and your people?
Yes, I don't think it was such a long time ago, because remember my last film was Anila. Yes. And every film has a meaning. Anila for me was the opportunity for me. I had two principal characters in Anila. I've always been fascinated about Abeokuta. Abeokuta has always remained the backdrop to almost every film I have made. Somehow I don't do city stories. I just, the kind of stories, either from literary source material or fiction, I fit it into Abeokuta mostly. And of course, the story of Anila is very intriguing to me. For years, I've imagined what I could do with it. So after Anila, then I was going to do perhaps a sequel to Anila. And then, like I told you, I had Cordelia. I have several books, by the way, waiting to be made. And because of the Cultural Fusion project, I saw the opportunity that Cordelia is the film that can be so dramatic to inspire a robust musical score. Because since the time it starts, it just sucks you into the action, and you wonder what's going to happen next, because the story happens quickly, less than 48 hours. And I knew that it provides opportunity for the score. And it took longer time. At first I thought this is going to be so easy, a fast turnaround project, but it turned out to be more challenging than I thought. But I can tell you that it's worth the wait, because 3 years of making, and finally I think this is the time it's now ready for the audience, Nigeria, African, and global audience to watch this special film.
All right, thank you, sir. Emirati.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. My question is to Ms. Yvonne Jegede. What are the experiences you took away from the set of Cordelia?
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Yvonne Jegede. So, I've been in Nollywood for quite a number of years, and I see it as a learning process. So working with TK was a big deal for me. Me and my manager were jumping on the phone, we're shouting, we're dancing. It's like, TK called you? From where? Me? But anyway, I got on the set and I learned a lot of things. I made new friends, but I learned a lot of things. And one of the things that I took home, that you said, you dissed me on set, and I was like, yay, multiple. I messed up. So we had different things on set, and there was a scene where they had props on set. And normally, you know how we are in Nollywood, there's food, let me tell you, there's something, you're eating it, and you're supposed to shoot it. So I was eating, and TK came and said, you don't eat props. You don't eat props. I was so ashamed of myself, I was like, I'm taking this home. And since then, I have never done it. And I even tell actors on set, it's actually unprofessional, you know, for you to do this. So, but there's so many other things, but that was the one that was the height of it. That was like my highlight. And I was like, this is why you need to work with people like this, because a lot of us walked into the industry. Some of us, we have passion for it. There's different reasons. We have friends. We have, you know, somebody that had money to give to us to shoot films. So there's so many things and so many ways we've come into the industry. And if we don't go through all these refined and seasoned producers and seasoned directors, and people who know what they're doing, people who have been here, who know the nooks and crannies, the top to the bottom of the industry, you will not learn. So apart from that, acting-wise, there's so many things that I had to learn. And yeah, so it was just a lovely experience for me.
All right, thank you so much. Can we have Precious from Broadway TV? 2 questions.
Okay. The first question will be to Mr. Tunde. What emotion do you hope viewers leave with after watching Cordelia?
I think the lesson, what people will take away, they will know that this could have happened to anybody. So if it happens, how do they think they will deal with it or feel? You know, audiences are quite unpredictable because they're going to see what I never maybe I saw myself. And so for the creator, when you create this thing, I'm surprised when people start to react in different ways. But what happened in Cordelia could happen to anyone because you don't expect it. You should thank God because when you wake up, you know what you're going to do for the day and so on, and then suddenly something happens. Usually, maybe it has to do maybe the country or something else happens and it affects people. And it goes to a point where you think, why me? You know, why me? Out of all these people, what am I choosing to go through this? But at the end, sometimes it has sort of a healing too. Because sometimes, through all the advances and everything, you really thank God, okay, now God, thank you, I now realize what was in the case of that's in Iran. Nobody will know how it was going to end, but probably be a surprise to everybody.
Alright, to the lead cast, sir, how do you relate personally to the story or your character's journey in the film?
Tell me about your marriage.
How do I relate personally to my character? I would say we all, not just me alone, we relate to my character when it comes to Cordelia with regards to how I see stories, when stories are told. You have what you call the spine story, and within the spine story, you have what you call the strand story. The spine story is the general thing that is happening in the country. And the strand story is your personal life within that situation. And like he said, when you come out planning to go somewhere, you don't have control of what will happen next. And when that thing happens, how do you respond to it? Do you respond to it positively? Do you respond to it negatively? And that brings me to my happy wife here, who's happy. She is happy in quotes. And the story of Cordelia, which is set within the Nigerian system in the 90s, given the military era, and having to look at how we respond to the military with regards to what is going on in the country, and how we individuals in our strand story in our lives play within that same circumference of governance. And something happens and you're caught in between. deep blue sea and the Red Sea, what do? You give in, you give up. You go out, do you go in? Or you go in, what happens? So that question just sets it all up, that Cordelia affects all of us individually. And perception sometimes, how you play within other people's perception. I have a perspective about the situation, you have your perception about it. What you're seeing is different, and what I'm saying is different. So it brings us dovetails into his question also, where you ask what will the audience take out emotion-wise. We don't have control over that. A lot of people who come there to be entertained. There are those who come there to learn something, and there are those who take a lot away from it as well. So we just leave it to the audience to. I don't want to give too much details about the story, so that people can go see the film on the 18th of this month in cinema.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Can we have Medula TV?
Okay. My question goes to Mr. Kelechi. Yes. Seeing you working with TK, I'm trying to picture what is going to happen in that movie, especially your character, because of what we have known you for. So, are we seeing something different for another character in Cordelia, or what will we be expecting? That's my first question. My second question goes to the legend himself, TK. Virtually, we've seen you working with various artists in Nigeria, various actors from different niche and different character background in Nigeria. Are we expecting something working with some other African actors, bringing Hollywood actors and Nollywood actors with some of the best in Africa? As we have always known you discovering special actors. We've seen you dispatch several actors in Nigeria. Are we seeing something beyond Nigeria pitching all over Africa? Thank you.
All right, let's have Mr. Kelechi first.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kilarigbo, and there are some things as an actor. I think for me, there are a couple of things that I want to do before I die. One is working with TK. Yes. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. And working with him was, I didn't even believe, like she said, till I got to set, I was working with TK. And
I was like, are you sure?
Yeah, are you sure? You get, and then I'm like, where's TK? Where's TK? Oh, okay, it's TK. Okay, wow. TK, like, TK. Like, come on. You sure that's TK? Like, you know, the name Kelani is amazing. It's amazing all through the years, the acting industry, the performance industry. You can't go like, you know, you can't go so far without hearing TK. So it was an awesome time working with him, and I wanted to know the kind of person he was on set. And you know, I came and he just allowed me to be me, to do what I had to do, you know. So for me, some directors, you work with them and they're like, okay, you have to be, they make you kind of stiff and you're not able to express yourself or express things in the character. The worst they can tell you is, when you do, you say, okay, I like this, but can you just tone down a bit or do this for me? So working with him was amazing. I was like, really? And yeah, the character is, for me, for every movie or film I mean, I try to bring something special to the character. It's as good as my last job. Any job I'm doing, it's as good as my last job. So even if it's a scene, even if it's two, like he said, you just have to remember I'm in the film. Even if I'm not standing and looking throughout the film, you like, boy, you guys are looking like this. You shall have to remember. So for me, I brought my A game to the game because it's TK, of course, and yes. So yeah, you'd enjoy it. I'll just say everybody should come out and see Cordelia because it's a different story, and the way the story is told, you know, the story is mixed into different. There's so much to take out of it, and then the setting was set in the 90s. 90s setting, which is beautiful, and the way he tells his story, very African, very rich, very cultural. It was awesome, and just see the film. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, what's the question again?
As a veteran.
Oh, what are you doing? Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Collaborating with African actors.
I respond to the story. The story I'm telling at any time will demand, you know, who will be in it. And so, and that's perhaps it's an asset, perhaps it's a problem, because I have an audience. I do know that principally there are 40 million Yorubas first of all in the homeland, and then in the diaspora. And they already decided that I should best make the film in the Yoruba language and culture. Let's say African. It's just an example of how much we can achieve in our own languages and in our culture and in our tradition. Because we are not just telling a story at that point, we are also archiving whatever is left of it. So I don't know, if I come across such a story, I would consider it. But I would not say to be popular or to make dollars, I have to go and bring someone, even if it doesn't fit the story. So, but I'm open-minded all the time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Looking at your trajectory in the creative industry, you've been fantastic. You're one of the people that we see and we know that, yes, okay, if this person is producing a movie, of course, our Nigerians would love to see. I would like to ask first, is it a fiction or a non-fiction?
It's essentially it's fiction, but it's based on some historical facts.
Okay.
And you can even decide when you see it and fit it into what you think is right. But first of all, unfortunately, Professor Femi Osofison, who wrote this story, is away. He's going to return to the country just before we go on general release on July 18. I wondered, that's why I do a lot of adaptations, because I try to get into the minds and the brains of writers. That's why I've worshipped them. I did so much adaptation, sometimes they forget that I'm not one of them. Because they have done African Writers Association in the US, they included my name and I went along. And I tried to convince this, I'm not one of you, really. But I really worship writers. Professor Femi Osofison, I come across several of his works and I can't understand how he thought about it. And when it comes to the family, he was serializing this story in the pages of Guardian when he worked in Guardian. And then sometimes he said people will come to him and say, problem was a serious there. I didn't know you have so much. Your wife and said, I don't have a problem, but it just a story I'm writing. That was how convincing it all was. It's so magical. And then they brought it to life, far beyond my own expectations. Sometimes I'm wondering, is it real? And when we get to Media Kawali, and this guy designed the character and smoked so menacingly. And anytime he lights another, I say, oh my God.
There's no stuff you see on the floor.
It's a wonderful, wonderful picture.
This is why I asked that question is because I'm looking at the situation that we find ourselves in Nigeria currently. I'm looking at that, that set that we saw in that teaser that I watched. I mean, I'm looking at, if possible, we actually can tell what the story, it's all about now, because, I saw both of them. So, Dada, I saw people, looking at it, don't you think there is more? Because I'm already thinking what I'm going to come out of that movie. Mm-hmm. Don't you think we're going to have another part of that movie, probably kind of like part 2, because the story of the military era, and I don't think anything has changed as far as this country is concerned, comparing the military and
are you suggesting a fool?
Just as if you have it in the movie. But, this is not a cool, but you passing a message, because I can see a strong message coming out from that movie. So, relating that, from the 90s and to what we have today, nothing has changed. And it's still the same,
We're in a democracy. We have a robust democracy in place.
I get to disagree.
The Nigeria of the 90s, 80s, 90s, and all that, the military era, and falling into this period, you see how we've fallen, or rather, things have gone up to what it is today. So most times, we storytellers, we say like they say, literature leaves the society. It leaves the society back to the society. So we haven't seen the film yet. We've seen the snippets of it. It can propel or project that if you don't do X, Y, Z, this might happen. So it's just like a foretelling for you to guide the society the way it should go, so that when you do that properly, everything goes right.
I hope our actors and actresses can.
Let me just summarize Cordelia like that. Sometimes when you watch the film, you realize maybe it's just a casual glance at our recent historical past. But at the end of the film, you can just say, oh, it's a love story. You know, so there's no way you can tell what is this on your film.
You can even come into the cinema and you pick out, you carry the military, whatever, and someone comes and take love story. And one comes and says, I want to be a professor.
All right, thank you, sir. Can we have a second to the last question from Yefo TV?
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Tayo. Sir TK, my question goes to you because there's this word that says that music does not need any permission to enter our spirit. Is it that Cordelia is promising us that he's going to set our souls on fire, that for us to expect the next thing to happen in this movie? Because I realize that you've been saying something about this musical part of the world.
Exactly. So all I want you to watch is the last scene of this film. And hear the sound that accompanies it. Then you'll come back and come and say, TK, you are right. Even if you are dead, you wake up, come back and respond to it and go back to music. And then it's a tribute to one of our greatest musicians who ever lived in Nigeria.
All right, thank you, sir. Can we have the last questions before the closing remark from Ben, City People?
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Ben from City People. So I have a question. All this while, I've just been listening to what you were saying. You kept on mentioning adaptation, original score. Now it goes back to those, all the movies you do, or most movies that you produce, do they actually reach to something, just in respect of what you say, does it get to our soul in terms of music? And at the same time, adaptation of novels and unwritten words. Can you just tell us?
I think it essentially has to do about the stories. Look, I try to convince even the new generation. We have millions of literary resources, assets, that we should be ashamed of something because we haven't even done anything. I carry books around, and sometimes I'm excited at what I'm about to do next, what will follow. At least 3 of the 5 things they are adaptation for literary resource. Why have we stopped reading? I often wonder, how can anybody become a thinker without reading? I think it's now, you see, I started early in life with Yoruba series, and they learn on. And now I've laid my hands on Yoruba. It's a White Ruler's War, which his name flew out of my head. I just translated. I don't know how I feel about books. I'm surrounded by books. If I have obtention of a fiction, another thing, I will certainly take it. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going to do next. I just know that there are 5 options. And then something happens that triggers what I do the next moment. So for me, it's my own way of life. You understand? I have a very broad canvas. That is the beauty of Africa. Imagine Africa, about 50 countries, 2,000, 3,000 different cultures and colors. We have not even reflected it in Nigeria. How much the whole of Africa. So that's how I work. I don't know if answers your question. I've even forgotten the question.
No, you answered my question because I was asking if most of your movies are book adaptations.
No,
because you spoke mostly on adaptation and original score, which is music and storytelling. So that's the question I just asked.
I presume you're happy now. Thank you. All right, I feel Precious have something to say.
Okay, my question is to Ms. Yvonne. When you first read the script, what did it tell you?
When I read the script and I saw my characters that were making act or interpret before. So, an angry wife. But, you know, when you have to work with somebody who's like TK, you always make sure that even if you're playing the same character again and again, you're interpreting it differently. You adapt to one habits, one vibes, or something, and just make that character stand out from all the other characters that you played. So when I read it, I knew I had to do something completely different. Not just shouting like in our movies as usual, not just angry and shouting and showing that you're angry. There's a character that I kind of wore for myself because my husband is obviously very big and bigger than I am. I'm like this high when I stand in front of him. But I had to make him know that you have a fire wife in the house. You can be a professor.
She swallowed him
You
up.
can be whatever it is out there in school. But when you're in this house, I am your wife, and you have to respect me. So I had to create a character where I chest out when I walk, so that you know that trouble is coming. So I was just excited to bring different things on sets, and like they both say, TK will let you do anything you want to do. He will let you do whatever you want to do. So it was a blast. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, when you watch movie, anytime she appears, there's a special music for her.
Now you answer my question. Just answer my question.
No, that's, in fact, the music score deals with her character. Because anytime she appears, usually there's a person back on it, and they say, let me go there, and say, it's too late, the music changes and we see her. But it's fun.
So it kind of gives a better picture to your question, because when you started earlier, you talked about the scoring, and the scoring of the song wasn't done like you go to a studio, it was live. They were watching the film without everything, and they were scoring it. So if you've seen an orchestra before and you have over 70-something people scoring, as they're watching it, they move with the action of the actors and all that. So every film has its style. If we come from the Nollywood perspective, days back, you can predict what song will come in and all that. You slap my face and da. But this one, her mood, the music depicts what you're saying. So it puts you in that frame, it puts you in that position to feel what she's feeling at the time she's feeling it and all that. So it's it kind of drives everything home.
And now my own last word. Thank Professor Femi Jefferson for giving us that stuff. You know, it's so unbelievable. I still wonder how he thought about it and put it and then wrote this story. And I want to thank the Italians for bringing it to life. I couldn't even believe myself. You know, William said that they make it easy for me. No, you don't make it easy for me, I make it easy for me. Because what I do is, anytime I'm making a movie, I thought I'm so privileged enough to pay all these people to entertain me. Because I'm the first audience that can see, just like a palm wine, you're bringing down on top of it, and I'm sitting for you to bring that, the first to drink it. I'm looking at other people, and I just see all the transformation, everything going on right in front of me. Some of them, that's why when I sit in stage, I'm watching a play, and after the play, I can't recognize the people who played it because they look so different. You can never imagine this guy or her, for instance. No, it's not possible. So this is magic. And I'm particularly grateful to God about what God has given our country. We are blessed. with the tangible heritage, oil and gas and all those things. But more importantly, we are blessed by all these things. And then everything that we are all doing and you are doing, so I'm eternally grateful to the city people for bringing all of us together. This is not like a press conference, just like we're having a chat. Now I also, bring drinks and be enjoying ourselves. So I thank you all for this opportunity to meet with you, and so on. So I'm back. Today Kelani is back. And don't forget, it's July 18th. July 18th. Cordelia.
All right, that was
July 18th.
Tunde.
Professor, can you hear me?
Kilarigbo TV, ìkànnì amúlùdún àkọ́kọ́ tó ń gbé àṣà àti ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ Yorùbá lárugẹ.